Let's go ahead and create an item from scratch and then send it over to Etsy. To do this, we are going to go to Items in the menu at the top of the page, and then Create Items. And then at the bottom of the page, you can select all of the marketplaces where you want to sell and where you want to send this new item. For the purpose of today's webinar, we're just going to focus on Etsy right now. So let's go ahead and just check the box for Etsy. You'll notice that once we check the box for Etsy, the Etsy info tab appears at the top left of the page, and your Etsy category options appear at the bottom of the page. We're going to be listing a bracelet today. So let's select the jewelry category and then the bracelets category, and we're going to list a beaded bracelet. So we'll select the beaded bracelets category. Once you've selected the Etsy category, just click the select button and you'll see that it is now showing here. And so then we are going to click next at either the bottom right or top right of the page in order to go to the item info tab. Note also that you can use the tabs at the top left of the page to go between pages as well. The next button will take you through the process in order and is usually the best for creating a new item. But the tabs at the top allow you to go back and forth if you need to, and are really useful if you're editing an existing item. On the item info tab, you'll notice that some of the fields are in green, like the title field here at the top, and some of the fields are in black. The fields that are in green are your required fields and will need to be filled out in order to save the item, and the fields that are in black are optional. Let's start by giving the item a title. And then we're also going to want to add an image. So we'll go ahead and click the Add Images button. If the images are not yet in your account, then you can just click the Upload button here and then select the image or images that you need to upload. If they are already in your account, then you can just go and find them where they are. Put a check mark in the box underneath the image name, and then click Attach Selected. And you can attach multiple images at once if you're using more than one image. And then you can see the image shows here. Next, we are going to add a description for the item. So let's put in a description. And then we're going to want to put in our item price. And then you can see here too, if you want different profiles associated with this item. For example, again, if you're selling on other marketplaces such as eBay, then you can go ahead and select those there. And also, if you're using any calculated shipping options, you can add in the item dimensions here. And we're just going to go ahead and put in some item dimensions and the basic package size. And then once you have filled out all of the information on this page, just go ahead and click the Next button, and we'll continue on to the Inventory tab. At the top, you can see a SKU's already been filled out for you. Feel free to change it if you would like. Otherwise, the item will just use the randomly assigned SKU that the Vendio has created for you. But you are welcome to change that to your own SKU if you would rather. And then you want to enter in the total quantity that you have for sale. And also choose your item allocation strategy that we discussed earlier. I'm going to select Shared. You can then also add in the cost, your cost. So this is how much it costs you to either acquire or create, most likely create the item since you're selling on Etsy. And so we'll go ahead and enter that information in there. This information is not shown to your buyers, but it is very useful with some of the reporting that is in your Vendio account. This information can be used to help calculate your profit and loss. So if you do have this information handy, I would recommend entering it in. It can be really useful in figuring out how your selling strategies are working for you, and how much profit you're making on the items that you're selling. And then there are some other optional fields here as well that you can fill in. You can click the advanced link and that'll pull up even more. These are, for the most part, for your own internal tracking purposes. In case there's some information about the item that you would like to keep track of, you can even add some custom fields at the end if you would like to. And then once you are done with this tab, just go ahead and click the next button. And now we are on the Etsy info tab. This is where the bulk of your Etsy information can be entered in, but you'll see that much of it has already copied over. For example, when you look here, you can see the title field's been copied over. And for those fields, you'll notice that there is an icon with 2 links of a chain that are connected. And what this means is that the data in these fields has been copied over from a previous tab. Usually that's the item info tab. And the reason for that is that way if you are listing an item on multiple marketplaces, you'll only need to enter in that information that's shared across those marketplaces once. So for example, if you were also selling on eBay, the same information would show up automatically in the eBay tab. If you do want to change any of this information so that it's different for one marketplace but not for the other, then you can simply click the icon of the chains to break it and then put in whatever changes you would like just for this specific marketplace. So you can see here that this item already has the title, the price, the images, quantity, description, and category are all already copied over. And so next we are going to fill out the fields that are specific to Etsy and to the Etsy category that we selected. Just a reminder that the fields in green are required, but you should probably fill in as many of the not required fields as possible if they are appropriate to the item that you're selling and you do have that information available. So for example, we'll fill out the primary color is red and the secondary color is white. And then you could fill out these other fields as well. I'm just going to scroll down to the next required field, which is the about the listing field. And so we'll go ahead and say who made it and whether it's a finished product or a supply, and also when it was made. And then the next setting is the renewal options. So that's whether you want the item to automatically renew on Etsy or to have it be renewed manually. So go ahead and select that option. And then we have some more of the optional fields that you can fill in. And then near the bottom here, we have the shipping options section. And so you will want to select the shipping option that you would like to use. You will need to select an existing Etsy shipping profile. If you do have an Etsy profile that you've already created in your Etsy account, but you're not seeing it here, then just go ahead and click the Retrieve My Etsy Shipping Profiles button, and it should be pulled in for you, and you can then select the profile you would like. So we're going to go ahead and select this fixed shipping profile. And then you can see here also that the weight and item size that we entered in earlier is already automatically showing up in the Etsy tab. And now we can choose our publishing options. We can either just save the data without publishing on Etsy, or we can choose to publish on Etsy as a live item, or we can choose to just publish it on Etsy as a draft item. We're going to go ahead and click to publish as a live item. And then at the bottom right, you have 3 options. You can click cancel if you want to discard all these changes, or you can click save and clone. And save and clone is a really, really good option. What it does is that if you click this option, then the item will be saved and sent to Etsy if that's the selection that you chose. And then a completely new item will be created and opened with all of the same settings that are in this item. You can then edit that cloned item to make any necessary changes. This is a really useful option if you have items to list that are very similar to each other. Then maybe you only have 1 or 2 fields you need to change. and then you can go ahead and list it on out. For this, we're going to go ahead and click the Save button, which will save this item with the settings that we have. And in this case, since we have it set to publish, we'll send it on over to Etsy. If there are any errors, they will be displayed in red. Otherwise, we should get a green message letting us know that the item has successfully been saved. So let's take a look and see what we get. Oh, and there's that green message letting us know that the item has been saved successfully. So we can now check the status of this item by going to Channels and the menu at the top, and then My Listings. And we're currently looking at Etsy for the channel and scheduled for the view. And we can see that this item is currently scheduled to go out and is in process of being sent to Etsy. Once the listing is successful, it should show under the active view right here. And if the listing fails with an error, then you should be able to find the details under the errored view here. All right. Next, let's go ahead and take a look at how to create an item with variations from scratch and send it over to Etsy. To do that, we'll go to Items and then Create Items. And this is a very similar process to the item that we just created. So for the purpose of this webinar, we will focus on what is different between the two processes. So we're again going to check the box for Etsy at the bottom of the page. And then we're going to select our category for what is similar to what we just went over. I'm going to go a little bit faster this time. And then we select the category. And then this is important, since you have variations, you want to make sure you check the box for I have more variations of this item, such as color and size. So we'll check that box. And you can see that the inventory tab now says inventory and variations. And then we'll click the next button to go to the item info tab. And we will fill in our item's information. And add in an image. And our item description. And our item price. And then we will go ahead and click the next button. And we're now on the Inventory and Variations tab, which looks very similar to the Inventory tab, except we now have a Variations box. And so we do need to add the attributes that we are going to use. So we're going to click the Add Attribute button. And then we're going to select the type of variations that we want to be using. If you do need to create a new type of variation, like right here, we have color, size, and flavor. Maybe you have a different one that you want to use. You would just select New Attribute, and then you can go ahead and type in the name of the variation. And then once you've typed in the name of the new variation, you can add the different attributes that you want by typing them in here and clicking the green plus button after each one. For what we're doing though, we're going to be using the existing ones. We're going to be using color and size today. So we'll go ahead and select color. And you can see that we have 3 colors set up right now: red, blue, and purple. We only have red and blue that we're using though, so I'm just going to remove purple from the variation list by clicking the minus button to the right of purple. And we now have colors set up with just red and blue. And I'm just going to click OK so that I can apply that variation to this item. And then next, we also want to use size as a variation. So I'm going to go ahead and click Add Attribute again. And then I'm going to select size from the drop-down box. And right now for sizes, we have small, medium, large, and extra large. But I want to do the length of the bracelet for the different variations. So I'm going to remove these 4. and then I'm just going to add in the variation values that we have for the bracelet. So I'm just typing in the name of one, clicking the plus button, and just repeating until I'm done. You can also use the enter key. It's a little bit quicker. And then once you've added them all, just go ahead and click the OK button. All right, now we need to add the different variations that we have. You got a couple choices. You could click this add variation button one time for each one that you want, and then change the settings here. Or what is usually the best option and a lot easier to do is instead click the generate variations button. And when you click this button, it will automatically create all of the different variations that can be created based on the attributes that you've added. So let's click that now and I'll show you what I mean. And so you can see that we now have every type of variation based on the 2 colors and the 5 sizes. So you see we've got red here 5 times, one with 6 inches, once with 7, once with 8, once with 9, and once with 10. And then the same thing with blue. So those have been automatically created for us and saved a little bit of work there. So now you want to go ahead and enter in the quantities that you have for the variations. If you do have the same quantity for all of them, then you would just click the pencil icon here next to the total quantity column, and then you can set the quantity for all of the variations at once. Or if you had different quantities, then you could put those quantities in manually here. And if you do need to make changes to any of the other areas here, you can. Maybe you have different prices for different variations, then you could edit the price field in order to give them different prices. Or maybe you want to use your own SKUs instead of the Vendio created SKUs. You could make that change in the SKU section here. And then once you're ready and you've filled in everything else that you want filled in on this tab, just go ahead and click the next button. And so if you are using multiple variation attributes, then Etsy rules will require that you select which attribute to base the images that you are using on. So we're going to use color for the attribute that we're going to base our images on, since the size probably won't look that different in the picture, but the color will. So that one makes more sense. So we'll select color here and then OK. And this looks similar to the last tab, but we are on a different tab. We are on the Etsy info section now, and you can see that the information we entered in has been copied over. And now we need to enter in our images. So the first 5 are red, so let's go ahead and select our red image. So I'll just click where it says no image. We're going to do it by color. So I'm going to click add image. And then I'm just going to go look for that red bracelet image right here and attach selected. And then click OK. And you can see that that image is then added to all of the red variations. So we only have to do it that one time. And then we're going to do the same thing for the blue image. And there we go. So now we've added in the images for our variations. And so yeah, the rest of the listing process is basically the same as what we looked at earlier in this webinar. You've got your variations set up and you can just continue by filling in the rest of your optional and required Etsy information and then list the item at the bottom of the page.